Well, it's 7 o'clock, so I think we'll start up. I want to call the meeting to order and ask people if they have cell phones, if they would kindly turn them off or put them on silent mode. This is the Environment and Natural Areas Committee, and there's 3 committees tonight. Will be followed by Public Works and then Community Planning. I want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the land of the Coast Salish peoples. In particular, recognize the land of the Shanna First Nation. The Shanna Nation had their elections on October 5th, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of Council to offer our congratulations to Chief Russ Chips and Councillor Tracy Lynn Pateman, and also congratulations to a new Councillor, Sheba Sawyer. And thanks to outgoing Councillor Bernice Millette. It was a great pleasure for me to work with her on the Mary Hill project during the last year. So we have an agenda that was circulated, and everyone has that, I expect. I wanted to make 2 amendments to the agenda. Andrew Gage was coming this evening to speak on the Sue Big Oil campaign, but unfortunately he's had a respiratory ailment and we thought it best that he not attend this evening. He's improving, so we're good on that front, but we'll postpone that presentation to another evening. Likewise, under 6A, we were going to reference the MEASC recommendation on the Sue Big Oil campaign. Well, we'll postpone consideration of that MEASC recommendation to another evening. Otherwise, are there any objections to the agenda?
There's the supplemental information.
Yeah, we have the agenda and the pinks, thank you. And if everyone's happy with that, we'll accept the agenda as amended with the addition of the pinks and carry on. Yes. So we start off with public participation, and there's 4 minutes each to speak if anyone would like to speak. And if you do come up to the podium, please state your name and address. Maybe it's a quiet night for public participation in the Environment Committee. All good? Okay, well, we'll proceed right into the agenda that we have. So the first item on the agenda after public participation is adoption of the minutes of the Environment and Natural Areas Committee meeting of September 11th. And folks have had a chance to look at those. Any concerns or considerations?
Move adoption.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Epp, seconded by Mayor Little. Any discussion? We're all good? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Our next item is receipt of minutes from the Environment Advisory Select Committee of September 26th. And I just had one comment to make about that. You'll see under number 2 of the Environment Advisory Select Committee meeting, Alison Leduc made a presentation on behalf of the Bilston Watershed Habitat Protection Association, and I guess it was Andy McKinnon, the previous councillor. He mentioned that it would be helpful if we had a list of 6 or 8 items that the association might provide us to think about. Sort of condense the thinking. We've received those 6 to 8 items, and they've been provided to Councillor Shukin, who's leading the charge on the detention pond in the bufferland. So that's just a progress report on that particular item. Yes.
Thanks, Councillor Gray. I'm just looking at page 11.
Yep.
And the motion at the top of the page talking about hiring someone with expertise in hydrology to review. And I think we're going to talk about that further down.
As soon as we approve these minutes, we'll move to that. Would you like to offer a motion to approve the minutes?
So,
thank you.
I have a question.
Any questions?
On the same page where you have riparian area regulations,
Yeah.
recommend the district enforce more strict riparian area regulations. Is there a problem with the ones we have now? Is 30 or 16 feet?
Yeah. So what's happened is that the provincial government puts out this document about what we can do versus what the provincial government does. And in that document, they provide for the opportunity for districts to do more than, or to have stricter regulations than are set out by the province. So kind of like a maximum and minimum. And so in looking at those and talking to some of the provincial people that the Bilston Watershed Habitat Protection Association put us onto, it looks like there's some things that we could do. So we talked about that at the meeting, and then we're going to bring it forward more formally to the MEASC group, look at it and bring some recommendations to the council if MEASC is interested. So it's kind of moving from minimum to somewhere greater that would be permitted within the provincial government.
I was just wondering if maybe ours weren't working, because you wanted to fix something that wasn't working.
I guess specifically what I was thinking about bringing it forward to MEASC was our experience with the Beckingham development, where the big riparian area there. And as I learned more about riparian areas and the regulations as a result of that interaction, it seemed that we might do more. Not thinking about targeting Beckingham, because that's a project, a subdivision that's in process, so I wasn't referring at all to dealing with that circumstance. But learning from that experience, I thought it was a good time to come back and talk to council about the issues. But we'll learn more once we get it back to MEASC and kick it around and see what they think would be a good idea versus what's possible. We kind of stopped there to get a better look at all the documents and things. So if I had a seconder for the motion to adopt the minutes, we could proceed. Seconded by Mayor Little. All in favor? This is receipt of the minutes. Thank you. So the next item on our agenda was going to be the Sue Big Oil campaign recommendation from MEASC, but the second recommendation they asked us to look at, that's found on page 13 of our agenda documents. And what happened there was that MEASC was looking at the question of the referral from council about how we might deal with, or reviewing the stormwater management plan, basically, provided by the developers and through the process through our engineer. And I guess what happened was we looked at it again, and the general feeling was that we don't really have the qualifications to comment specifically on the engineering data presented in the plan, leaving a big hole in terms of, gee, we've made some comments, we've provided some feedback initially, but the real details were not really the best people to do that. And so we've had two presentations at MEASC on green infrastructure. We've had, I think, MEASC general interest in management practices to ensure water quality that council put forward at its last meeting, which I reported out on. But the point really was, if the district needs better advice in hydrology or engineering or even green infrastructure ideas, the committee is saying we need some help with that, or other people need to help us with that. And I've talked to Councillor Shukin about it, and we're bringing it forward to really think what should be the next steps on this. We can move forward. It's just that if we need somebody, we should get them. So it's really a comment, I guess, to say that MEASC itself has put forward most of the ideas it's got in terms of cut down the fewest trees possible, recharge the aquifer as best we can, and a series of those things that have been documented. And do we need more advice? Do we need some more people to be involved? Councillor Shukin.
So thank you, Councillor Gray. I wonder if I could ask a question of staff, because I think this morphs into the motion that we passed on September 11th. And there were several parts to that, one of which was that we go to Colquitts for more advice on water quality and also quantity issues. And so this kind of morphs into that as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the notification to City of Langford, the developers, and then their engineer about where we stand in terms of what is an approvable plan from the district and the chosen side. So, Ms. Tarnowski, could I ask, where are we at with those two phases? Because I think they influence what we might do with this one, which I'm in favor of, but it'd be neat to know, current status.
Okay, so in terms of the first point about engaging hydrologists or engaging the hydrologist that we have engaged for further assistance, it has been expressed to us that he is currently has too much workload and is unable to continue with this particular project. So we continue to search for alternative expert on that matter. And matter number 2, a letter to the City of Langford that has been sent to them.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Tarnowski. It'd be great to see the letter. Just curious to have it and know what's been informed of, sort of what parties have been informed about what. And so when we made the motion, it was really specific to Colquitt's, which their engineers, their hydrologists. I think there's value in looking at deeper expertise, all in the name of ensuring that what comes out of the stormwater detention pond is solid in terms of quality, and then, but also importantly, what goes into the stormwater detention pond is also solid in terms of quality. That is maybe a hydrologist, but not necessarily. I mean, I think we've seen that there's people with expertise in biophysical matters that also can influence and have knowledge about stormwater matters. So, I mean, it says hydrology and engineering, but I feel like we should go as broad as we can to get the expertise that we need for this. Again, the question to me, number 1, is quality, and how are we going to get the expertise to inform what we see from that plan? So,
I think that's consistent with what was talked about at MEASC. In addition, we've heard subsequently from the Bilston Watershed Habitat Protection Association some names and resources, different people who might be involved. So there's one question is the flow of water and the amount of water and regulating the water flow. And I'm no expert, but that's sort of the engineering side of it. The quality of the water side goes a little bit different. Equally, it's engineering, but it can be other people as well, ecosystem type individuals. I think what the message here from MEASC is, we maybe can't provide all advice. So as needed, the district should proceed with other experts. I don't know that we need a motion in particular to hear about that, in the sense of, I think it makes totally good sense. It fits with what you put forward at the last meeting, Councillor Shukin. Just making sure that we're looking at quality as well as quantity. And that's where the green infrastructure, I'm using the word green infrastructure, but we've talked about at this table quite a bit, the idea of plantings and the bioswales and these kinds of things where the water is passing through biological type filters. Councillor Shukin.
I would like to pass this motion, or sorry, put it forward.
Yeah.
But if I could offer an amendment to it, and it would be something along the lines of that council engage a qualified environmental professional with expertise in hydrology and engineering to review the stormwater management plan. So the only change is to engage a qualified environmental professional to review this Centre Mountain stormwater plan.
So I think that sounds good, and it would be for council to encourage staff to do so, I guess, or encourage the staff to do all of that. And we wouldn't be so much amending MEASC's recommendation. I think MEASC has given the recommendation. What would we like to do with it?
Yeah.
And you're choosing to take MEASC's recommendation and make a new motion which is aligned with that. So let's not work on amending this, but rather a new motion, or a motion from this committee to council.
Okay.
And if I got it right, the council
Direct staff.
Yeah. Direct staff at the district to engage a qualified environmental professional
with expertise in hydrology and engineering. Yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. Hydrology and engineering to review the Centre Mountain stormwater management plan. Really, we're looking for somebody with expertise in the questions that we have. Quality, quantity. Yeah, so moved.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. So moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. And any discussion on the item? Mayor Little.
Yeah, so it depends on what question we're asking. So Alison the Duke had put forth some recommendations. What we truly need is an expert in green infrastructure. So in low impact rainwater management practices and stream ecology, and to focus on the goals of the maintenance and of healthy aquatic ecosystems, both in the Machosen Creek and the Bilston Creek. So it depends on what kind of question we're asking, what kind of expertise we want. I'm not sure if a qualified engineer is going to be able to provide us with that, and maybe we should leave it open that we should have an expert in green infrastructure, because that's really the question. It's not only the flow, which an engineer can provide us, of course, but it also is the quality, and the quality of what is coming out of that, as well as compared to pre-existing pre-development conditions. So I'd be in favor of it as long as we can keep it open, so that we get an answer to the questions that we're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Councillor Craig?
Yep.
Just one clarification. If we went with the qualified environmental professional, that would include something like a biologist or I'm not sure who else it would include, but it would possibly cover somebody who has that expertise. So
I think the
it could be green infrastructure established. Yeah.
I think the change here might be that we've already passed a motion that's talking about the sort of the engineering expertise. And here I think the addition, if I may, what Mayor Little's suggesting is let's be clear about that. So I might suggest the amendment to the motion that the environmental professional with knowledge in hydrology and engineering. So we're not looking for an expert in that area. We're looking for someone who's knowledgeable about that, but brings this other skill. Would that answer your
Yeah.
intervention? Yeah. Okay.
Second that, if you're proposing to.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to change the word from expertise to knowledge of.
Okay.
Everybody clear what the motion is? The amendment, rather? All in favor? Great, passed, carried. And then should we turn to the main motion then? The council directs staff to engage a qualified environmental professional with knowledge in hydrology and engineering to assist with the stormwater management plan. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. That's great. I think that'll be a help to, I hope that will be a help to our administrator and our engineer who are working on this project, and it's been a tricky one for sure. The next item on our agenda is the staff report. So this is item 7A, a staff report on the BC Zero Carbon Step Code. And I imagine everyone's had the opportunity to review the document. So what's going on here is that we've, not so long ago, moved up in the BC Step Code, the building step code, which largely has to do with insulating the buildings, keeping them warm once they're heated up, or reducing the amount of energy required to heat a building. And then the province brought in this zero carbon step code recently and said, hey, folks, you can do better than that, reduce the emissions that it takes to heat the buildings. And as Ms. Legitian points out in our briefing note, we can, if we do this, it'll help us move along in terms of our goals in our Machosen Climate Action Plan in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Transport being our first big emission, or our leading source of emissions. Our second source of emissions is buildings. It's not going to have a huge impact in the sense that it's new buildings. It's not all existing buildings, but it points us in the right direction, I think. The timeline has been established by a number of other communities in the Capital Regional District who are working on this. And so it looks like we might be able to match just with them and move forward. So we've got a positive staff report in terms of the elements that we've got here in terms of making the change. It sounds like it fits with the revision of our building bylaw. We've had a presentation at the last council meeting by Jane Devonshire from the Climate Action Groups. Dr. Janet Ray sent us correspondence on it about the benefits both globally but also inside houses. And then we have a number of pieces of correspondence today in our package, which are all pointing to the advisability of this idea. Would anybody like to make a motion with regards to the zero carbon step code? Or would you like to discuss it a little bit first? Councillor Shukin.
Thank you, Councillor Gray. I'm in favor of it progressing on this. One question I have, though, is we had discussed some of the updates that need to be made to the building bylaw.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, I don't want to delay unnecessarily, but should we consider those changes as part of this change, or should we do this and then come back?
Let's ask Micheline.
So the building bylaw is in the process of being amended, so this will be included in that amendment if council passes a motion to adopt early adoption for net zero carbon emission.
Through you, Councillor Gray, a question to Mr. Arnowski. Any sense of when we'll see the changes, the proposed changes?
The building bylaw is scheduled to come forward at the November meeting, the first meeting, council meeting. November, I can't see from here. November the 6th.
Thanks. I would move that council provide direction to staff to proceed with amendments to the building bylaw as it relates to the zero carbon step code, and staff will bring the proposed amendments for consideration to council.
Thank you,
So
Councillor Shukin. Seconded by Mayor Little. And I guess what I'm thinking about here is that we match the timelines of the other communities so that the industry is all in line and hopefully achieve step 4. Any further discussion? We're all good? Yes, Councillor.
To say I do support the step code, but I also think that there should be backups allowed, particularly here in case of a long-term power outage. I think there, in our community especially, we have a lot of seniors, but even in general, I think a power outage, if there's absolutely no other source of heat but electricity, can leave a lot of people in trouble. And I think it's just important for safety reasons to be able to allow people to be able to have a backup, whether it's a gas fireplace or a wood stove. Because not a lot of people can handle or afford generators.
I think those are both allowable under the scheme. And I could imagine that new builds as well would probably, as time goes forward, add generators to the buildings and that sort of thing. But we're learning as we go in terms of where the construction industry will go. But that backup is kind of a necessary thing given the rural nature of our community. Okay, well, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So I guess the next thing is my update, and just a happy story really. All 3 environmental resolutions that we brought through the committee went to UBCM and were approved unanimously. And so that's the reducing anchorage outside the Port of Vancouver, supporting biodiversity in local communities, and production of old growth forests. And that was terrific. And I want to specifically thank Councillor Shukin for speaking and arguing out the case for the reducing anchorages at the UBCM meeting. And he reported to me that was a pretty interesting experience. And then also specific thanks to our residents. All of these 3 motions came from residents in the community. Bev Bacon and Alison Leduc, thanks for their advocacy work on the reducing anchorages question. Joan Rosenberg was early to our council advocating an end to old growth logging and what we might do about it. And that morphed into our letter and then eventually position of AVIC. The Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, and then Jackie Larkin for asking us to put forward a resolution. And then finally, the biodiversity resolution was promoted by Sierra Club of BC. We learned as we were working on it. And a late Metchosanite, Ken Farquharson, he founded the Sierra Club BC. So it's kind of nice that we did all that work together. And also MEASC, who was very supportive. I just had a couple of other things to report. And one is that the fire department has got a chipping program going for people who want to bring in clean materials, plant materials for chipping, along the lines of the Fire Smart program. There's a sign outside now, just behind the fire hall, that lays out the simple rules to follow. And it's our hope that an alternative to burning in the backyard, chipping is an alternative, and so hopefully it will reduce a little bit of the burning that goes on in the community, and also motivate people to Fire Smart their properties. I wondered too, I got a call, or an email rather, from another resident, Bill Cave, last week asking about our climate declaration. And we got looking at, he and I both, and realized, gee, we don't have that up on the website. So I wanted permission of council that we put that up in a prominent place on the website and link it to our climate action plan. If no one objects to that, we'll get that done in this week or so. All good? Great, thank you. Well, it'd be remiss for me not to mention that yesterday was the first year anniversary of our election team. So that's kind of cool. It's been a very active environment committee. It's been a very active council. All the committees have been active, I would say. Or at least that's been my interpretation of what's been going on. And so kudos and congratulations to everybody. It's been a year of building relationships and both in the community and elsewhere. Steep learning curve. But I expect we'll strengthen those things as we get into our second year. And I know there's an inaugural meeting coming up, so I don't not say more about it, but just to mark the day of yesterday was the election date. And thanks to Mayor and Council and other councillors and to staff and to the community. We have a few pieces of correspondence to receive. A piece from the David Suzuki Foundation, another from the Pembina Institute. These are about the Zero Carbon Step Code. Another from the a broad range of groups who are involved in industry supporting the Zero Carbon Step Code. A letter from Glenn Schentag, and also from I lost my piece of paper, 1 second. And Micheline Coté Bamford about getting methane out of our buildings, which is also about the Zero Carbon Step Code. And then we have the pinks. Correspondence we received from on the issue of the Step Code from Alison Leduc and Bev Bacon. And then 3 pieces of correspondence regarding the Sue Big Oil campaign. 2 in support and 1 opposed. The 2 in support were Bev Bacon and Katie Nelson, and the 1 opposed was from Charlotte Gourlay. So maybe I can just, if everyone's okay with it, we'll just accept all of those documents, receive all of those documents into the record. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. A motion by Mayor Little, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Thank you.